back to my channel.
Body goals, Fitspo everywhere you look.
Cardio should never feel like you're slaving away at something.
Melina Brunson found hope and inspiration in social media influencer Brittany Dawn Fitness.
I was looking for some sort of training, some sort of fitness program.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Unwellness Community podcast. I'm so grateful that you are listening to this. Thank you. So I apologize about the noise. I am in the process of moving forward. Hopefully we won't have this noise the last time I'm recording this where I am. So moving to across the country to another place. So I apologize the noise, but this is the last time. As always, like I said before, thank you. This episode is going to be part 2 of last week, the greedy wellness influencer. So I did cover 3 people that I felt very strongly last week that I, in my opinion, have seen how they manipulate followers and so forth for their viewers, or even just the platform. And this is an extension of that. So this week we have 3 more greedy wellness influencers, and this is my opinion. I do recommend doing your own research as always, and everything in this podcast is alleged. I've done a lot of research about it. It's very passionate to me, especially as being somebody who has been in the wellness industry, who has left. I have a very strong opinion about it, and all the love that I had for my students and for some of my peers, I find it my responsibility that I have to speak about this from an authentic and transparent perspective. So this whole point of the podcast is not to be dramatic, it's not to be negative, it's just to bring light to things that I feel like need to be brought light to. So this week I hope you enjoy. It might be a little triggering, as this whole podcast really is, because I feel like the more that we get into these stories and expose what people have done, it can be triggering for you. So just be aware. If it is, I would recommend seeking some kind of help, doing some breath work, taking care of yourself, because that's very, very important.
Pounds for her wedding.
I wanted to do it in a slow and healthy way. I was feeling terrible the first week. I was supposed to get weekly check-ins and consultations with her, and I did not receive those consultations at all. I emailed, and she never got back to me.
So she contacted Dawn on Instagram.
She deleted the comments and blocked me immediately.
So, the first, I believe, greedy wellness influencer I'm going to talk about is Brittany Dawn. Now, that name you might feel like sounds familiar. A lot of my opinion about this has been formed from my research, which has been through news outlets. It's been through people that I've spoken to who have heard about the story or known somebody who did purchase something from Brittany Dawn. So it's just a piece of the pie. Again, I encourage you to do your own research, but Brittany Dawn used to be a wellness influencer, and she had a lot of videos about, I would say about 3-4 years ago, she had videos about how to get fit, and she would have her Starbucks coffee in her car, and very pretty girl. She seemed very ambitious, well put together, well spoken, and she seems very, even to this day, she seems very influential. She just has that kind of personality that you just want to connect with, because she comes across authentic. And that's the thing about a lot of wellness influencers. There's a level of authenticity that comes across through the camera. Now, just because they come across authentic does not mean that they actually are. And that's something that I've had to learn in the wellness industry. So a lot of people, they come across that way because that is their goal. Their goal is to come across that way so that they can build a following. Doesn't necessarily mean that. And I live in Los Angeles, not for much longer, But one of my biggest critiques about living in LA, it's a beautiful place, great weather, amazing nature. But I think that there's something that happens here amongst the people, that there's a facade that people put out and who they really are. It's like two different people, very polarizing. And I found that with a lot of wellness influencers, and I would agree about this with Brittany Dawn. Now, ever since her scandal, which her scandal involved her being accused of stealing money and being involved in scams with her followers. So one person in particular, and I'm going to put the interviews and what I found in the description box. I recommend, or in the comment section rather, I recommend doing your own research, like I always say. But something that one of her followers who purchased her program said, she said that she felt as though Brittany Dawn didn't get back to her, didn't give her a refund. Basically, she put her money into something and never got anything back. Now, as somebody who is, I don't want to say I'm an influencer, but I have quite a few thousand followers on Instagram, and I take that very, very seriously. And sometimes I feel like I need to take it more seriously, because I'm so grateful that people would even want to give me a platform like that. But I have found that it's just not okay to take advantage of people. And every time somebody purchases a reading from me, purchases a session from me, because I read tarot and I do my other sessions too, anytime somebody gives me money, I'm so grateful, and I want to make sure I've given it 100%. So I can never imagine running away from somebody who's given me money. I would feel so guilty, and I would feel so bad about myself, because people work hard for their money. So to hear that was very disappointing and very sad, honestly, that this wellness industry has been used to attract, yes, some people who want to help others and build a community, but also those who want to get quick money and then leave, which is what I believe happened here. Now, I don't know her side of the story. She has apologized, and I will also leave a link for that. She did also say that, from what I gathered, she said that people were being hateful towards her, and I can see how that can be. I feel like sometimes the media can take on a story and just run with it. I've seen some people that they've completely blatantly lied about. So I am open to hearing her story, and I am open to hearing. I just haven't found that much about it. If anybody knows, if you're watching on YouTube, if you want to leave a comment, or if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, if you want to send me an email, I would love to hear if you've heard the other side of the story, that Brittany Dawn wasn't scamming people, because it seems to me like she was, and I find that very disappointing, and a continuation of what one of her I would say customers or followers said, the same person that I mentioned earlier. She said that Brittany made them sign an NDA so that to get a refund of their money, which I believe is against it's against the consumer. I forgot what the bureau is that deals with that specifically, but you're not allowed to do that. So I think she was in a lot of hot water because she was asking people to sign papers that they weren't supposed to sign. Basically, if somebody gives you money and you haven't given them a service, they are entitled to a refund. It's different to if you gave them the service and they didn't like it, or if you wrote no refunds and you still gave them the service. So the fact that they didn't get anything in return caused a lot of major backlash. She was on GMA, she was on different news outlets, and she was, I believe, pushed to write or to say she was sorry in a vlog. So I can't find the full video, but I did find clips of it, and I've shown in the beginning of this that she said she was sorry, and I applaud people who apologize. I do, however, think that in this era of social media, if you don't apologize, people coming you harder, so you're kind of expected to apologize. But for me, in my life, in general, apology is really action. So somebody could say sorry, which I think is important, but what's even more important is how they've changed. So since then, I feel like she has changed, and she has become a Christian now. I am not religious at all. I did go to, it wasn't really a religious school, but I went to British school, and because of that, we had like a chapel, and we had to basically read the Bible and stuff like that. So I think that the great elements to Christianity, it's not necessarily for me per se, but I don't judge people because they're religious. I have found a lot of similarities because I have family members who are very Christian, and I have seen just a lot of people that I've known who are very Christian, very religious. They often have similar stories to what I've experienced in the wellness space. And I think that whenever there is this perception, automatic perception that somebody is good, without us really using our own discernment to be able to see what is true and what is false and feel it within ourselves, it can create fogginess, and it can make us very blinded and make us susceptible to people who are in the wellness space to take advantage of us. And like I said, I have found many. So now Brittany Dawn, back to that, has found herself to be a Christian. She is a born again Christian, and I'm not going to judge her for that because I don't believe it's my job to judge anybody. But I do find it very interesting that the two spaces, wellness and religious spaces, are often where people have complained the most that they've been emotionally taken advantage of. So for me, that is a red flag. Again, I don't know her personally, so I'm not going to judge. But it is very telltale when somebody perceives themselves as virtuous, as all-knowing, as innocent, when their actions have shown otherwise. So that is about Brittany Dawn, and just to see what we can learn from that, I'm all about learning from situations. For me, the ultimate thing to learn from a situation, from dealing with someone like Brittany Dawn, or how the media has perceived her to be, is don't necessarily believe that because somebody has a ton of followers that their intentions are good. And don't be afraid to research somebody that you are interested in buying from, if you will need that money again. And it's very unfortunate, but it's so important that we are careful with who we give our money to, especially if we don't know them.
Moments right before and after the death of her twin.
Take me through the moment that you realized we're going over the side.
I played it so many times in my mind, having that wheel go out, hitting the dirt berm, going over. I don't.
When you woke up at the bottom of the ravine, what do you recall?
I don't remember. I mean, I just remember being like airlifted.
Okay, so the second one is very controversial, and like I've said before, my job is not to judge. My job is just to bring attention and awareness to specific circumstances and people who I believe to be greedy wellness influencers. Now, a few years ago, two twins that were yoga teachers who had moved from Florida to Colorado, then to Maui in Hawaii, had a car crash, and actually one of the twins ended up killing the other one. But let's backtrack before that, because I will get to that part of the story. Initially, when these twins, Anastasia and Alexandria Duval, had lived in Florida. Initially they were from New York, then they moved to Florida, then they moved, a lot of the story is a little bit murky, but this is what I gathered from it, from my research. They moved from New York to Florida, then to Colorado, to avoid paying some of their students. So in a few reports, and from what I've researched, again, the information, the links will be in the description box or comment section. But what I found out about these twins was that they had a heavy drinking problem. Even when they were teachers, they became famous through YouTube, and they would travel and have like retreats and so forth. Basically a yoga teacher's dream. In all of these retreats, in all of the teachings and the different studios that they opened, because they opened a few and they ended up racking up tons and tons of debt. It was alleged that in Florida they racked up $150,000 in debt. Now, I don't know if that number is completely accurate. That's just what I saw. But in a nutshell, they owed a lot of money. And one day, a former employee came in and she said it was closed because people were asking for their money. Now, I have seen this kind of practice in yoga studios that I have taught at myself. I will one day do a video about it. In fact, I want to do a series about just the shady things that I've seen at yoga studios, and I think it's very unique to yoga studios because I haven't seen it at really anywhere else, that kind of behavior. And I've taught at yoga studios for 8 years, so I've seen a lot of financially shady practices that are unique to yoga studios. But after their Florida stunt of owing tons of money, they moved to Colorado, then they moved to Maui, and it was when Alexandria unfortunately crashed the car. Apparently they were yelling. One pulled the other one's hair. I believe Anastasia pulled Alexandria's hair, and then they tipped off a cliff. So throughout their life story is very, very interesting, and they had a lot of trauma growing up. I actually feel a lot of compassion for them, a lot of empathy, because I think that they never really healed themselves. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of yoga teachers, wellness influencers who are very broken inside and are asking other people to do what they have not done themselves. And when I started teaching yoga, I was like that. I was somebody who I would say do this, but I wasn't doing it myself, and it felt so empty, that kind of life. So I made a decision to get back in therapy, to work on myself, and to really live what I was teaching, which I don't see happen often. So back to the twins. The twins, they said, had been drinking. In fact, one of the twins' boyfriend, apparent fiance, said that they would get so drunk that they would black out and start yelling at each other, like pulling each other's hair and stuff like that. There is alleged incense too. He said that they were sexually involved with each other, and all of that. I just see that a lot. Both of them, they just needed to heal, and I find it very interesting that they spoke from this place of, we're yoga teachers, we know this, we know that, and we expect our yoga teachers to be more evolved than us, spiritually more evolved than us. And I'm not so sure that we should just automatically hand them that, because like I said before, most yoga teachers I've met have been some of the most egoic and mean people that I have ever encountered, who have a facade of I know everything, but behind closed doors, I've seen yoga teachers steal, I've seen yoga teachers do all kinds of stuff, do substances before they're about to teach. So it's not this world that people think it is. And just because you have a yoga teacher that you may look up to, you may see often, you may want to have their life, a lot of them are dealing with some serious issues, and these twins are an example of that.
Can't get enough of this video this morning. Alec Baldwin is known for speaking his mind, and the actor, of course, takes no prisoners, famously lashing out at the paparazzi.
It's not only that we can't get enough of the video, I just don't believe it. I keep waiting for him to scream at somebody.
the ultimate and last, I believe, greedy wellness influencer is Hilaria Baldwin. Now, if you follow my Instagram, I have done a video about how I used to know her. I don't know if I used to know her. I feel like that might be... I did used to know her. Sometimes I toy, I'm like, did I used to know her? Did I not? Anyways, I used to be a yoga student of hers, and I actually ended up teaching at the yoga studio that she taught at in New York City, Yoga to the People. And I'm going to have a series of videos about Yoga to the People moving forward. Okay, so back to Hilaria. I met Hilaria, first took her class in 2010, I believe. The years get a little murky, but it was fall, autumn in the rest of the world, but in America we say fall. And it was in the East Village, packed. I think it was about 6:30 p.m. because they used to have a 4:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m. class. And I used to take the 6:30 p.m. with one of my good friends and an ex-boyfriend, well, a boyfriend at the time, who's my ex-boyfriend. I used to love her class. She used to play all kinds of music and that stuff, and she seemed quite down to earth. I'm a little shocked that what has come out about her and saying that she's like Spanish and she knows she wasn't really Spanish and all this kind of stuff. But my intuition when I met her was that something was a little off, and I don't mean as like she was mean. I mean that something didn't make sense to me. I have lived in different countries, hence why I have the accent. I'm American, but I've lived in different countries. And I used to live in the UK. In the UK, I lived in London. There's a lot of Spanish people. A lot. So when I heard Hilaria say she's from Spain, I heard her in person say it a long time ago, almost a decade ago. I thought I got like a ding, 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 ding went over my head, because I was like, she doesn't sound Spanish. And I've met tons of Spanish people. I'm not saying that just because you're from Spain, you have a specific accent. There are exceptions to the rule. But a lot of Spanish people I've met that speak English very well still have an accent, a thick accent, and the accent that they have didn't sound like hers. I thought it very interesting, and I kept listening to her. I mean, even when she speaks, she'd say thank you, she'd say how are you, you know, we talk briefly. I didn't really have full conversations with her. But I remember her also saying her last name was Thomas. And then I was like, because like I said, I've traveled a lot and I've met people from different cultures, different countries. It's very rare that somebody has a British last name that is Spanish. And I remember I asked her, so are one of your parents British or something? And she said, no, my parents are Spanish. And then I was like, that really doesn't make sense to me, because Thomas is a British last name. So then I thought, you know, in Colombia, there are a lot of people who are Colombian with British last names, because there were some British that went there, and they've kept their last name even though they speak Spanish. So I thought maybe she's Colombian, you know, that was just a thought of mine. She didn't throw that out there, it was a thought of mine. So I was like, maybe, you know, maybe she's Spanish. Maybe she's Spanish via Colombia, because that's also possible. She could be, consider herself Spanish, but she's from Colombia. But then I heard her say Spain. I heard her say Mallorca. So it was like, and I am a true Aquarius if you're into astrology. I love like a good murder mystery. I love clues. I love figuring things out. I love puzzles. So I was like, I'm going to figure this story out. So over time, I kind of forgot about it. I would say the last time I really spent effort on it was 2015, because I was like, this is like, every time I would see her in news outlets, I'd see her on TV, I also noticed that when I would see her on these platforms, the comment section would be filled with, she's such a phony, she's such a fake. And I don't often go by comments, but not everybody can be wrong about one person. I almost didn't see one good comment, honestly. So I thought to myself, it's very strange that people will go so in on people unless they have something. I have found, not all the time, but as a whole, unless people have really something that they've picked up about another person, they don't really go all in like that. So I forgot about it, and then boom, the story came out that she had been lying, allegedly lying to everybody. I say alleged for legal purposes when really I shouldn't. But she had allegedly been lying to people and saying that she was Spanish when her parents were from America, Boston, Massachusetts. Basically, her lineage goes back to World War II, the Civil War. That's what a lot of people have been saying. And I was automatically, it all made sense then. And I started talking to people on social media and, people that I know that work in media. I know people who run, gossip columns and stuff like that and are into gossip. And so when I spoke to them and I told them my story, they were like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Now, I have spoken to mutual friends because I still know people who do know her. I'm not going to give out their information or say the conversations that we've had. I just want to put that out there and be honest about it. I just want to use her as an example to show you what came with her claiming to be exotic. Whereas if she had claimed her true heritage, being an American, I don't necessarily think she would have been featured in magazines like Hola. She wouldn't have had all these cooking shows, because at that time, Mediterranean food, when she became famous and Alec Baldwin married her, Mediterranean food was the new it diet. Mario Batali, who I've also met, was off the chain with his Italy, telling people to eat more healthy, even though he's not healthy himself, or doesn't appear to be, in my belief, or did it at that time. So it was just very, it seemed like a PR stunt, and now it's a PR stunt gone wrong. And I think it's very unfortunate, especially as somebody who does come from different heritage, mixed heritage. I do consider myself American, even though my heritage is really from not one particular place. I find it very, I don't want to say insulting, but for lack of better word, insulting, because, especially from talking to other people too, who are of South American, Central American, or even Spanish heritage, they often have a story. In fact, I spoke to one friend who said when she came to America when she was a kid, people used to bully her and make fun of her accent because she had such a thick accent. And even to this day, she still has a thick accent. And that was one of my initial red flags about Hilaria Baldwin, is that sometimes if you are from that place, in fact a lot of the time, you can't just erase a part of it, whitewash it, and make it sellable and it's palatable for other people. So she's received a lot of brand deals, cooking deals, and good for her. I just question whether she would have gotten all these deals if she had said from the very beginning she was from Boston, Massachusetts. That's all that I have to really say about that. I also think that it's our responsibility as a former yoga teacher, as somebody who used to be in the wellness community. I think it's very important to point out these people who I believe are not being authentic to what the pillars of yoga are, who see this as a way to become famous or to make tons of money, when most yoga teachers hardly make any money. That's just the reality of it. and it sells an idea that might be feasible for some, but we need to be more honest about if it's feasible as a whole. So I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe for more. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would so appreciate a review. I would love a 5-star, but it doesn't have to be. It can be whatever you think. I love constructive criticism, and I'm hoping to grow this community so that people no longer feel shame about stories that they've gone through in the wellness community that left them either with less money, either feeling broken in some kind of way, or feeling as though they needed to heal from a space that they expected to heal them. Thank you so much for listening to the Unwellness Community podcast. I'm so grateful that you took the time to do so. Please make sure that if you're on YouTube, you subscribe. If you are listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, leave a review, preferably 5-star or whatever you would like to do. Thank you again. See you soon.